Hey guys, welcome to the Pair Exchange. This is our reboot episode of 2021. It's been a while. I'm Todd Bonner. I'm with Chelsea Gill and Jen Beganowski, and we are glad you joined us this week. We're going to do this every 2 weeks to start off. We have a cool guest tonight. Do you want to talk about her a little bit, Jen, before we bring her on?
Yes. So we have a former Playboy bunny with us tonight. We have Bridget Marquardt, who is absolutely phenomenal. And she has her own podcast, Ghost Magnet, which is just wonderful to listen to. If you guys have not tuned into that yet, I highly recommend you check out her stuff. Her stories are very enthralling, and you really get wrapped up in her own personal life while learning about her own ghostly tales and in explorations in the world of the paranormal. So I'm very excited that she's with us tonight.
So am I. I'm going to bring her on now. Hi, Bridget.
Boo! Surprise!
Yeah, you're back again. There's no cats, there's no dogs, so we're good right now, I think.
Well, at the moment, there's not, but yeah, if you see glowing eyes behind me, it's not a ghost. It's not a demon. Well, it could be a demon cat.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Don't say
that. I'm pretty sure.
So, Bridget, we like to start off usually asking, how did you even get to the paranormal? When did it begin for you?
Mine, for me, it began, that's funny. That's how I start off every podcast too. I'm like, how did you start with this? For me, it started when I tell people I think I was born spooky, to be honest, but my first because I always loved scary movies and ghost stories and scaring my friends and stuff, even when I was really, really young. And I was watching horror movies before most people were allowed to. My parents didn't care. They were like, I would spend that whole in Blockbuster. I'd be like, I'll be over here while they're looking for their new releases or whatever. I'm like picking out the goriest horror movies possible. And but my first paranormal experience that I can recall happened when I was 12. Give or take a few months or so. I think I was 11 or 12. And I used my babysitting money. I was babysitting at a very young age as well. And I bought a Ouija board. And I'm sure I learned about a Ouija board from watching all those horror movies and everything. And I was so excited about it. I brought my cousin Angela. We'd always, every weekend, I would try and have slumber parties, usually with my cousins, sometimes with friends from school. But my cousins were always pray for me. And I'd try and make them stay up all night and watch horror movies. And I would scare them. And so they were so scared to play the Ouija board with me. And I made my cousin Angela play the Ouija board. My little brother, he's like 7 years younger than me, poor thing, scared to death to this day of the Ouija board because of it. And I made them play. At that age, we just didn't know that many people who had passed away. And so the only person that I knew was my great grandfather had passed away maybe within that year. And so we were trying to reach out to him. And apparently we were talking to him and he was answering questions, but then I was blaming my cousin for moving the planchette and she'd blame me. And so finally we got bored and we're like, let's put this away. So we put it away. And then, gosh, there's so many things that happened after that. Immediately after, we went to shower because we were going to go to the movies after that. And she came crying out of the bathroom. She had these deep X's in her leg, like if you were to lean against the corner of a table or something and it left those imprints, in your leg type thing. But she had 3 deep ones that were either, depending on how you looked at it, X's or crosses in her legs. And she thought, because she made this, she went like that to the Ouija board, just like kind of joking around, but like hissing at it with the sign of the cross, that she thought that was like a mark from doing that. And so we went and saw a movie afterwards, and the whole time she said she couldn't pay attention at all because she had these marks in her leg. But when we got out of the movie, they were gone. So I don't know what they were caused from. I don't know if it had anything to do with the Ouija board, but to this day, she thinks they were. And then, but then the part that really got me into the paranormal after that is that after that, I started seeing my great grandfather. One day, the first time I came home from school, we lived way out in the country, by the way, in the closest neighbor you can't even see. So we're out in the grapevines and stuff. I come home from school. I come in the back door like I always do, plop down on the like coffee table. I was either doing homework or probably watching TV, either way. And all of a sudden I hear the back door swing open. I was like, ugh. Obviously I didn't shut it tight, right? So I get up, go back over there, shut the door, come back in, sit down. I hear it swing open again. I'm like, what the heck? That was weird. So I get up. Is somebody like joking with me or whatever? I kind of look around, nothing, close it, like kind of jiggle it this time, make sure I closed it tight, push on a little bit. No, it's closed, whatever. That was weird. So then I come back, sit back down. I hear it open again because it's swinging and it's slamming against the outside wall. So I was like, now I'm scared because now it didn't just open on its own. Somebody's doing this, right? So I get up and I'm super nervous and I go into the laundry room and I look out on the back porch to see if anybody's out there, and nobody's out there. And so I hurry up and shut the door and I lock it this time. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm walking out and I looked, and out of the corner of my eye down the hall, I see my great grandfather standing there.
Wow.
Oh.
And after that, I started getting nightmares and weird visions and all kinds of things happening often. And it wasn't like that fuzzy, oh, I have a guardian angel, my grandfather's here with me, or anything like that. It was scary and it was negative. And looking back on it now, I think it was probably a trickster. It wasn't really him. It was something that was just was trying to make me feel comfortable to come in through his image or likeness or whatever. But that's what got me started.
What and back then, even for me, I had my experience when I was younger too. There was no one to talk to about it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So
I know.
like, you had to kind of keep it to yourself. And I mean, we're lucky now because it's mainstream. We could tell these stories and talk about our experiences now, but that makes it even scary too because you really had to keep it inside.
Yeah, well, so mine was becoming very scary, and to the point where I can't just like not tell anybody what was happening. So I told my family, and my parents, I mean, they never had any, they don't have any experience with ghosts or anything. This was all foreign to them. That's only something that happens in movies. I'm like, what? And so they talked to family about it. And the consensus was either I needed to see a psychiatrist or the church pastor. And so we did both. The pastor came into the house and I could tell he did not believe me at all. And his advice, though, he did give some good advice. He did say, keep a diary about what's going on and just write about it. So I did. And then my grandma insisted that I go see a psychiatrist. So I went and saw somebody. We went all the way. We lived in Northern California, but we lived closer to like the Sacramento area. She would pick me up from school and drive me all the way to Sausalito, which if you're familiar with California, is over by San Francisco, which is pretty far to go after school, like once a month or whatever, or once a week, however often we went. I don't even know, because it was it was supposedly a psychiatrist or psychologist, I don't even know now, that had experience with ghosts or whatever. And I would talk to her, and she actually had one piece of good advice for me too. After all that time I went there, and it seemed like a long time, but I don't know how long I actually went. But she said to go to his grave and ask him to please make it stop. And even if it's not him that's doing it, he may have some control to helping stop it. And so I did that too. And eventually things did stop, but it took probably 2 years to totally stop.
Wow. That's I think that all of us that get involved in the paranormal have those experiences when we're younger. And I'm a little bit older, and like I said, I didn't have anywhere to go to. My dad was a police officer, so he would have thought I was crazy and probably locked me up. And you kind of have to keep that stuff in or kind of deal with it yourself. Even your friends, you don't really know who to talk to about this stuff. But I think it's great now that we're all able to talk about it openly. No one judges us anymore. They actually think it's pretty cool. So
yeah,
it's really changed in just the last 20, 30 years probably of the look. It's not taboo anymore like it used to be, which I think is great for us.
Well, I think the TV shows are what's changing all that too, mindsets. You know, when Ghost Hunters came out, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, before that, I used to watch like Travel Channel. They would have like World's Most Haunted this, Most Haunted that, whatever. And I used to watch those. But then Ghost Hunters came out and I was like, oh my God, yes, finally. People are talking about this stuff.
So fast forward a little bit. We talked about this a little bit before, you and I. When you got to the Playboy Mansion, did you? And you told me, but I want you to tell the story. Did you think it was haunted? Do you have any experiences there?
Oh yes. So, you know, when you go back into the mansion, it just has this vibe already, and it's I had a feeling that there was something going on there, but then you don't know too. There's just so much energy there and so much happening. Like maybe it's just the residual energy of all that stuff. So I didn't know for sure that it was haunted or where I was getting this energy feel from. But not long after I moved in, Hef himself told me about the original ghost story of the mansion. And the house was originally built in 1926, and it was built by Arthur Letts Jr. and his wife. And supposedly Mrs. Letts either jumped, fell, or was pushed off the balcony and onto the marble floor and died. Now, I've tried to research this since, and I haven't been able to find documented proof on this in any way, but that is the legend at the mansion. That's the original ghost story. And not to mention, there's been a lot of people who have stayed at the mansion or where the mansion was really important to them and have passed away. Lots of Hef's friends and even playmates that are famous, like murdered, like Dorothy Stratton and people like that. So there are people that have come and go from the mansion, and what's that?
I think that was a ghost. I don't know, some kind of audio feedback you got.
Did you hear it?
Yeah, I heard it.
I heard it.
Oh, okay, because I thought somebody said something.
I don't know what it said. It wasn't none of us.
Yeah. Oh, it's so weird. But anyway, so yes, so my biggest ghost story at the mansion is that I was, it was the day I went to, well, I had gone for a week to go to North Carolina to visit my brother in the Army. And then my sister and I went, and on our way back, we had a layover in Georgia to pick up my dog. I bought a puppy, and the lady was going to meet me there with my little dog Wednesday. And so she met us at the airport for our layover. We flew home. And so we're exhausted that night. It's my sister and I. We're sitting on my bed, and then my friend Stacy is at the end of the bed, and the dog, the new puppy, is in her little cage. We have it all like kind of screened off for her with all her little stuff in it. And the way my room is laid out is it's my bedroom at the mansion. The door to get in is like, say, over here. And on this side is a doorway, but it goes into my closet and then straight into my bathroom. So there's no other entry or exit into my room, just the one doorway. And as we're sitting there talking, I see a woman standing in the doorway to the closet bathroom area. And it was, of course, out of the corner of my eye, because for me, it's always out of the corner of my eye. And I gasped, but at the same time, my sister and Stacy saw it too. And my sister immediately just started crying. She didn't want to look. And my friend Stacy was like, "Oh my God, what was it? I don't want to look. I don't want to look. I don't want to look." And I was like, "Did you guys just see that?" I mean, obviously they saw something. And Stacy was like, "I saw something, but I don't know what it was." It was a woman standing there, and she had long black stringy hair. She was very pale, very thin. It looked like she was wearing kind of like a white sort of oversized t-shirt, and she was wearing like dark denim pants. They almost look like black kind of acid washy, you know, like that blackish gray colored jeans. And she was just very, very thin and pale. And before I lived at the mansion, a couple years before, I had come there, and I was chosen to come and test for Playmate for the Millennium Anniversary Playmate. And I stayed at the mansion for 3 nights. And while I was there, I met this woman named, well, I won't say her name. I met this woman. She was one of Hef's personal assistants. And she would make sure that everybody was taken care of at the mansion. She loved all the animals and made sure everybody, even the animals were taken care of, everything. And her and I really hit it off. And we stayed up really late one night talking. And she's like, I have a good vibe about you. I feel like you're going to make it. I know I'm going to see you around here again. And by the time I did move back a few years later and actually moved into the mansion, I had learned that she had passed away of cancer. Oh, wow. And I'm pretty sure that it was her that was coming. And I think that she just realized that there was a new addition, the new puppy to the mansion, and she was just coming to see it. So the next day I was telling Mary, Hef's personal assistant, about this. And she said, you know, that's really interesting you say that, because everyone used to tell her, not Mary, but the personal assistant who passed away, that she looked like Mrs. Letts.
Wow.
So did I see Mrs. Letts or did I see Joni? Based on the way she was dressed, I'm going to say it was Joni because it was too modern
Right.
for it to be a Mrs. Letts, you know? But who knows? I don't know how ghosts pick their clothes. Maybe, maybe Mrs. Letts wanted a t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah, I mean, there's no really, Chelsea would know and Jen would know too, how these things come about, or you know, I've seen ghosts that have been shadows, really, basically, silhouettes of people. There's no like textbook to go from in any of this stuff. So that's what's fun about it too, I guess, to figure this out.
Yeah, learning as we go.
Yeah, that's all it is, really.
Yeah. There's so many people that have stories from the mansion. Holly has a really good one too. And it's funny because when we were at the mansion, Holly did not believe in ghosts, but then she tells me this amazing ghost story that happened to her, but she doesn't believe in that stuff. So she was down in the gym and she was working out, which is really rare for Holly, by the way, especially back in the mansion days. She did not work out, but for whatever reason, she was in the gym this day and she was on like the treadmill or something. And she sees this woman, this blonde girl, not unusual for the mansion, come out and have a towel, like she kind of threw it over her shoulder. And she walked past Holly and through this mirrored door in the workout area. And Holly's like, oh, that's weird, because there's lots of little what do you call them? Like secret passageways and stuff, like, or we call them secret passageways, but they're really just like kind of underground basement tunnel things to get to different parts of the mansion and stuff. And so we know of what the basic one that comes from the house down into the gym, so you don't have to go the long way down to the gym. And that's the one we usually use. But this girl went out a different she went like right through the rock mirrored wall. So Holly was like, that's crazy. I didn't know there was a door over there too. So after she got off the treadmill, she went over there and she's like looking around, because there's always these little secret buttons within like the rock grout that you have to find and stuff. And she found a button. She was like, oh my God, there is a door here. And so she pushes it and it pops the glass open, the mirror open, and she opens it up and it's just a closet. It didn't go anywhere. So where did that girl go?
Yeah, that's spooky. I love it.
Yeah, I know. I love it too. And then Holly and I are sitting there on the floor. We were scrapbooking. We used to do that all the time because we had so many photos. Hef took pictures of everything. And we had the TV on for background. And the remote was like on my bed somewhere. But we're on the floor with all our stuff laid out doing our thing. And she was like, yeah, I just don't really believe in ghosts. I don't know. I just haven't really had anything happen. No, you just have the best ghost story ever, but okay. She's like, I just really haven't had anything happen. I don't know. And all of a sudden, my TV volume went up so loud. I mean, we were like, oh my God. And I'm like digging for the remote on my bed and I find it and I turn the TV down. I'm like, I think that was a sign for you.
Yeah.
Trying to get her attention.
Interesting.
Totally trying to get her attention.
Oh my gosh.
So you've traveled obviously all over probably the world, including the United States. What has been your favorite haunted place? Was it Eloise?
I mean, Eloise is cool for sure, but my the place that I had the most experience at was the Myrtles Plantation for sure.
Okay.
Have you been there?
No, I was trying to plan a trip to New Orleans. I want to go to Myrtles because half of New Orleans is open. Like Michigan, we're on lockdown still, and you're in California, you're probably the same way. There's not a lot of things to do.
Yeah,
I've been to Myrtles.
You've been there?
It's pretty wild. I have, yeah. As soon as you get there, it's like, I feel like there's a woman inside the plantation that just kind of like, if you're open to this, kind of watches you sort of through the windows when you're on the property. At least that was my experience. But I just kept getting all of these slaves and people that were stuck there and trapped there that essentially just wanted to be free or gain their freedom. And there's a lot of different energy there that I feel like, I don't, it's very otherworldly when you go there. It's like part fairy tale almost, because it's so aesthetically beautiful, and then it's just very, I don't know, dark and twisted at the same time.
I've heard it like it draws you in because of how beautiful it looks, but then the minute you walk into the plantation itself, it's like eerie. And it's always like you watch your back. Someone's always watching you. And I think it's what built in the late 1700s. So it's been around for a while, and you wonder what happened on that property. So many things.
Oh, I'm sure.
All the different energies that pass through there over the years. People that are alive. I think any location, old or even new, there's been places that are newer that are haunted. And I sometimes wonder if it's the people themselves bring energies with them. Or is the place actually haunted too? That's again why I love this so much. There's so many things to like, you're never gonna get the answer to, I don't think. Maybe not in my lifetime, maybe my kid's lifetime, with technology changing. But those are some of the things that are so fascinating about haunted places, and the energies you run into, and the energies you don't even know that are around you right now, you know? So
yeah.
So fast forward a little bit, how did you come up and decide to do a podcast?
Well, while I was at the mansion, I had my own radio show on Playboy Radio, Sirius XM, and it was the Bridget and Wednesday Friday show. I did it with my dog. She didn't say much, but she's a good host, co-host. And it was a live radio show every Friday, and I loved doing it. And I was so bummed to give it up. And I didn't have to give it up because I left the mansion. I had to give it up because I was going, like you said, to travel the world doing my Bridget Sexiest Beaches show. And so I wasn't going to be around every Friday to do that live. So I had to stop doing it. But even before I knew that, I'd already started getting podcasting equipment, like this microphone they bought me at the mansion. And I have like other equipment and stuff that I was like, I want to do my own podcast because I want to keep this up. I don't know what it'll be about or whatever. And I was so nervous about starting it for the longest time, just because of all the technical things. Like, I can host it. I can write a show and I can host it. I'm not afraid of that part, but it was all the electronic and technical things. Like, how do I set up all the equipment right? And how do I upload it? And where do I upload it to? And how much, I don't know how much bandwidth I need. What is bandwidth anyway? And like, just all that kind of stuff. And so I was too nervous about it. And like I kind of mentioned before we started talking live here too, it's also sort of weird for me to like just cold email people and be like, hi, this is Bridget. Do you want to do my podcast? It just seems weird. And people are like, what? Is that really you? Or what, is this a joke? Or wouldn't get back to me or whatever. So I was afraid of all of that too, like just to be weird. So anyway, one day I was having lunch with a friend, and I was telling him how I really wanted to do a podcast, specifically as a paranormal podcast. And he's like, oh, you know what? I have a friend in the radio business. I bet they could help you get that set up if you wanted. And I'm like, that'd be amazing. So then the next week I'm having lunch with that person, and he's like, totally, we can get this started for you. And then within, we had a couple of meetings, checked out all the equipment that we needed and already had, and kind of did a few fake shows a little bit just to see how it would go. And within 2 months we were up and running.
Wow. That's awesome.
It is. I feel your pain with the, it's overwhelming at first trying to get this. So today, like, I had to set this all up, and this is all new to me. I'm not very technically sound, but it's went smoothly so far, except that voice that came through. I'm not sure what that was. It could have been a joke. So we'll go back and listen to that over and see what that actually said. It said something. Maybe someone's asking you a question.
Yeah, it almost sounded, I thought it was, well, first I thought one of you guys was asking a question, but then I thought, oh, maybe it was my feedback. Maybe there's a delay and I was hearing my own voice. You know how that happens sometimes on these things, but then I don't know.
It didn't sound like you. It sounded like someone totally else talking.
It sounded like someone yelling, but there was like clear voices. We just couldn't make it out because it happened so quick.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me, one day we were doing the podcast, and usually if there's like a door, like behind you, Todd, or whatever, like Rob is always really good about making sure that the person has it closed behind them. And don't leave it open for several reasons, for noise purposes, and then also just because what happened one day is we were doing this whole podcast. It was with Linda, the Hollywood ghost hunter. And she wasn't in LA, though. She wasn't in Hollywood. She was because it was during lockdown, and it was towards the beginning of lockdown. And she went to Massachusetts to lock down with her sister. And so she was in this really old house where like the Revolutionary War took place below them, like that kind of old house. And by the end of the podcast, the door was wide open. And Rob said, was that door always open behind you? Because I always ask people to close it and it's open. And she was like, oh, I don't know. So of course, Rob rewinds the whole thing after we're done. And right as we started, the door just slowly is opening by itself within like the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Well, that's perfect though for the podcast.
Oh, and you know what else too? We were interviewing Steve Gonzalez, and this whole time, from the second he started, I kept hearing this heavy breathing, rhythmic heavy breathing coming through. And so finally, like after like 10 minutes, just 10 minutes into the podcast, I was like, I'm sorry, I just have to stop for a second. What is that noise? And he's like, what noise? And I'm like, that breathing sound. And he's like, I don't hear a breathing sound. And I'm like, Rob, are you catching a breathing sound on your end? And he's like, yeah, totally. I hear that breathing. And it was just like, but the whole, and Steve was like, I don't hear anything. And we're like, okay, that's so weird. I guess just go with it. I'm like, Rob, should we start over? Go with it. What? And Rob's like, just go with it. So we do the whole podcast like that. And then at the end, I'm like, Steve, seriously, like you didn't hear that the whole time. Like it was distracting for me. Like I almost couldn't, like sometimes I forgot what we were talking about because I'm listening to this creepy breathing. And he's like, no, but I mean, it could be this human skull that I have right here next to me, or this haunted dagger right here, or this. And he's pulling out all these haunted artifacts that are all around his whole area and behind him and stuff. And I was like, oh no, it couldn't be that skull or anything. Like, I don't know.
It could be anything at that point. Yeah, you never know.
We still don't know. He said send it to him and he would take a listen to it. And as far as I know, he never got back to us on what he thinks it is. And he's like the audio guy or the technical guy or whatever. I'm like, I want to know.
He didn't want to believe it was something. He didn't want to believe that it actually was a ghost.
Yeah, I wonder because he was just like, no, what are you talking about? It's crazy. It's distracting.
I mean, it could happen if you think about it. Like we use ghost boxes, spirit boxes, it uses radio frequencies or white noise. And now we have so much energy technology with the bandwidth, like you're saying, just to do this live stream, and so it could bring other energy in. I'm hoping we really did catch a ghost earlier. That would be just perfect for the.
It would be amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is something else. And I want to talk to you about, you did the Seance live with Patty and Holly. Was Nick there for that one?
Yes, he was.
He's not a believer, is he?
He is a skeptic, but he's had some things happen to where he's not a non-believer, but he's still pretty skeptical.
Yeah.
The first thing that happened to him was actually at the Stanley Hotel, and he was like not a believer, and then something pulled his hair, and there was nobody behind him that could have done it. So he was like, okay, that was weird. Something definitely pulled my hair. So
get his attention.
Yeah, but he did he's a good sport about stuff. Like he did the Myrtles plantation with us or with me, I should say. Not, there's no ghost in my pocket, or maybe there was, but yeah, he did the Myrtles plantation with me, and I gave him a K2 meter and had him investigating the haunted mirror and stuff like that. So he's a good sport about things. And he did come and do our, it was going to be just Holly and I, but Patty said that the more people, the better, because the more energy that you have. And of course we had a little bit of crew. It was small. It was Rob and Christine, my producers. And then we had another producer helping us out. But she said the more people we had in there, the better the energy, the more, response we might get. So I told Nick, you have to come. because you're the only one that makes sense. Like, how can we can't just have some random who doesn't even know? We were trying to talk to Hef, and Holly's house is haunted, so we want to talk about what was haunting her house. And then Nick has some famous family members who have passed away, so we thought that'd be kind of fun to talk about, see if we can reach them.
Did you guys ever end up connecting with anything?
Yeah, I mean, Patty says we did. She was using the dowsing rods mostly, and the reason we were using the dowsing rods rather than the Ouija board is, as you know, the Ouija board is so slow. Like, it would have been really boring live TV to like be like A B, you know, like it would just would have taken forever. But so we were mostly using the dowsing rods, and I'm funny about the dowsing rods. I don't know. It's not that I don't believe that they can be accurate, but I also believe that my cat wants out bad. I also believe that we might be controlling them without realizing it. So I'm always very skeptical on the dowsing rods. So I will tell you, though, that the reason we did that live seance is because Holly and I did a seance before that with Patty at Holly's house, and we got an amazing response. We were doing the Ouija board, we were doing the chalk writing, and we were talking to Hef, and I believe that we really were talking to him just based on some of the answers that Patty was giving us and some of the answers that the Ouija board was saying. And we were talking about who was haunting Holly's house, the original owner of it. And while we were sitting there, she has this giant, thick door. And I was the last one in. And when I came in, it wasn't locked and everybody was already there. And I just shut the door behind me. So we're all sitting in the dining room, which is, you can see the front door from there. And as a cat, and we were all sitting there, we're intense doing stuff, and all of a sudden we hear clunk. And I'm like, what the heck was that? We all stopped because everything's so quiet, you know. We all stop and we look around, and Holly was like, that was my deadbolt on my door. It just locked itself.
Ooh.
I'm gonna let the cat out really quick. One second.
And Jen, your dog's not popped in late.
No, we kindly escorted her to a different room.
Sorry, he just was like, he was just flipping out. Did you see him?
Yeah, he'll probably want back in pretty soon too. That's okay.
Well, I left it open this time. It's like, whatever, let him come and go.
So, how does Holly feel about living in a haunted house? I don't know if I could live actually in a haunted house.
Oh, and hers has so much going on. But you know what? At first I thought, so the last like 3 houses she's been in have been haunted. And so at first I was like, wow, you know, you got a cool haunted house. That's awesome. And I went over and I did an investigation. Oh, I have to tell you, her Las Vegas house was super haunted, and it was the guest house outside. And she's like, oh, you have to come check it out. Bring your ghost hunting kit. So my friend and I, we did like a road trip to Vegas to visit Holly, and I brought my paranormal kit. We go out in the guest house and I give them each a piece of equipment, and we're walking around. And then the room where we got like the most energy off the K2 meter and stuff like that, I was like, let's just plop down in here and let's do like a little EVP session and just like hang out and stuff. So we're sitting in there, and I'm asking questions to the ghost. And Holly, at that point, she had never really done ghost hunting or anything like that. So she was just like, this is weird. And then my other friend, she was just like, she's not even into ghosts or anything. She's all just Disney. Everything's Disney. And she was just like, oh my God, what am I doing right now? And I was asking if there's somebody here, like give us a sign, like give a tap or a knock. And then we hear a tap. And she was like, oh my God, you know, and they're both like, what the heck? And I'm like, but I wasn't convinced that was not just something in the little kitchenette area of the guest house. I was like, if that really was you, like, can you do it again? And there was another tap, and it was so consistent that every time I'd ask for it, we would get it. But I was still suspicious a little bit. So I said, you know what, if something's here, will you touch me? Just tap me. And my friend was like, oh my God, no way. Why are you doing that? And all of a sudden I felt like a poke in my shoulder blade. I was like, oh my God, I just got poked in the shoulder blade. And they're like, no. I'm like, I swear. So long story short, we wrap it up. We leave. We're going to dinner. I forgot to tell you, there was a psychic that was supposed to meet us there earlier, and she flaked on us. Holly thinks she actually chickened out, that she was so afraid to come. I don't know why. But anyway, as we're driving to dinner, the psychic calls Holly's phone. So she puts it on speaker because Holly's driving. And the psychic was like, did you guys already? Oh, and since the psychic didn't come, we actually did our little ghost investigation earlier, then went to dinner. We were originally going to do it after dinner. So the psychic goes, did you guys already do the ghost investigation? And Holly's like, oh, yeah, we just decided to do it before dinner. And she was like, oh, because I have the little girl who's haunting your guest house sitting in front of me. And she said she tapped one of you in the back.
Oh.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, proof.
Total validation when that happens.
I know. I love it. But now Holly's house, a different house here in LA, is totally haunted. And I honestly think that she might be doing it. Like it's her own residual energy. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I think it's her.
It can happen.
Like poltergeist type stuff, just like her own kind of telekinesis or own energy causing it.
Oh.
I'm not positive on it, but I that's what I feel like the direction it's going.
It's a good theory, though. I mean, we can manipulate so many different things, and people don't realize that you are a conduit, whether you believe it or not, in any situation.
Yeah, and I'm taking parapsychology classes now with Lloyd Auerbach at the Rhine Center, and that was when I really started learning about how we all have residual energy, and you don't have to be dead to leave that somewhere. And it kind of goes true with too, like her nannies will say they hear her getting ready upstairs when she's not there anymore, but they can hear her. And then even Holly has said that she'll hear somebody coming down the stairs, but it sounds like her own cadence in her walk. Like it sounds like it's her coming down the stairs, even though she hears it coming down. So I really think that it's somehow her own energy.
And that's what I think. I think because we don't know. I feel things follow me all the time because I've been to hundreds of locations, done hundreds and hundreds of investigations. I don't know what I'm going into and what I'm bringing home. But sometimes I think there's so much energy around me, and it could be for her. I mean, she's been going to places with you for a while now, and you never know what you're going to pick up or what you're going to bring home. And it could just stay with her, like her. You know what I mean? And just mimic her in some ways. And
yeah, and I'm not the only ghost hunting person that she's around quite a bit, so it's definitely possible that she's picked something up somewhere.
That's true. I forgot he goes everywhere, does crazy things. So who knows what could be attached to him? Also, none of us know that. And Chelsea and Jen are both psychics and talk to things and see things that we don't see. Which is another whole aspect of the paranormal in itself, like Patty does.
Yeah.
There's so much to it. I just love it. We have a question for you, Bridget.
Yes.
You have a bucket list location that you haven't been to yet that you want to go to?
I have the longest list on my phone. I mean, it is so long of places I want to go to, and it keeps changing. Like somebody will tell me about a new place. I'm like, oh, that one's top of my bucket list now. And then somebody else will say a different spot. And I'm like, oh, wait. That's going to the top now. So it's constantly changing based on who I talked to most recently. But yeah, there's a ton of places. Penn State, people have been telling me about the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. People have been asking me to come to for years. The St. Augustine Lighthouse. There are so many places, so many things. And of course, we just got lost a whole year in going to anything.
I know. We tried to plan that charity event last year, and it couldn't happen. The COVID hit right away. And I want to do it again this year, but still, we don't know what's going to happen this year either. We're kind of waiting.
Yeah, it's too hard to tell, to plan something.
Daniel said you need to come to the Hinsdale house. So, I'm going there February 5th.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally on my list too. And the more people I talk to with haunted places and stuff, I'm like, oh, I want to come there. And I've met so many amazing friends and people that are like, oh yeah, when you're out this way, come to this, come to that. Like my sister is moving back to Boston. She used to live there, and when I visited her, I visited Boston like 3 times, but I never knew anybody who was into the paranormal there. So every time we go, like I have to just kind of like wing it. So I was like, let's go to the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast and let's go here or there or whatever. But now like everybody, like so many people in the paranormal world are from like Massachusetts area or Rhode Island or like right in there. And now I know so many people. I'm major hooked up when I go there next.
Well, if you come to Buffalo, you can do Hinsdale since I have keys and I'm friends with Dan. So you're more than welcome.
Yes, I definitely want to do that. And also the other place right by it that he was telling me about. I'm blanking on the name of it. Like was it like an old hot springs or
what was it called? What? Chelsea, the sanitarium, Wildwood, right?
Wildwood Sanitarium, Salamanca. You can do a double whammy because they're only about a half hour from each other.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And also, in that area, I think it's that area. That's sort of near Niagara Falls, right?
Yep.
So, I had Tessa Del Zoppo on my podcast, and she's a psychic medium, and she has like her own show and stuff. And she was telling me about some things too. So, definitely want to go and meet up with her too. So, there's so many things. I just feel like I have friends everywhere now, paranormal friends, and I'm like, oh, I'm in Oregon. I need to hit up, like just. Let me get my list out.
No, and I think that's good too, because if I didn't like really jump into the paranormal, I started probably a decade ago, I guess professionally, I would have never met any of you. You know what I mean? I've met so many good people that I consider good friends, and I've traveled the United States and been welcomed to other haunted locations. And I think it's a small kind of group still, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people that do it, but it's still, everyone kind of gets along and welcomes you in. And, yeah, and if you come back to Michigan, you went to the 6th precinct for a little bit, but we didn't get a chance to investigate. So, and I have a new place called the Bruce Mansion that we had a crazy experience. Jen actually screamed when we were there.
I did. It was my first time ever screaming on an investigation, but it just came out. There was no stopping it.
I was scared. You forget about, like, I've been scared I'm not afraid to admit I've been scared a few times on investigations, and then I think doing so many, you kind of get desensitized to it. And the Bruce Mansion kind of put me back to why I like doing the paranormal again, because I was scared. I mean, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Jen screamed. We saw the shadow figure come at us. It was definitely, and we can go there. So if you ever come back to Michigan and visit your brother or whatever, we've got a couple more spots to go to now.
Yeah, well, I definitely will, because my brother is starting like a new business on his own, and so he said he's not going to be able to travel anytime soon. So he hopes that we come after all of this is over. We come to visit him. So we already plan to go back. So
good.
I'll definitely
have some things lined up for us.
Yay! So exciting.
And one of I don't know about the rest of you guys. On my bucket list in the United States, at least, I want to do Alcatraz for some reason.
Oh,
have it to myself and just investigate Alcatraz. I don't even know if it's allowed or it's ever been done before, but I always have been fascinated with the history of it.
Yep. Yeah. But do it like weeks in advance is what I've heard, because it books up. Well,
just the regular tours book up weeks in advance. Like if you want just a regular tour, you have to like know way ahead of time. And then if you want the place to yourself, that's a whole other animal. But it's been done.
That's
we used to go there on school trips because, like I said, I grew up in Northern California, so we'd go to Alcatraz for like the brownies, and we'd go visit Alcatraz.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's a perfect little trip for brownies to go to.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it was other places too, like the Hershey factory and things like that. But yeah, I remember going to Alcatraz. If you don't sell enough cookies, this is where you're going.
You get right out there and sell the cookies after that. Yep. It looks crazy. I mean, obviously it's got to be haunted because there's been a lot of tragedy there, and the water is a conduit, it's surrounded. Energy is always kind of hyped up. But yeah, there's a lot of places in California's had a lot of crazy murders, like serial killers over the years. You know what I mean? So there's got to be, even the Heaven's Gate. I watched the Netflix special on Heaven's Gate, and that house, I'm sure, is haunted by all the people that died, committed suicide in that.
Oh, that place has got to be crazy. They didn't tear it down?
No, I saw the Netflix special talked about it and showed, and I think there was like 40 people committed suicide in this house, and someone had just bought it. It's been for sale for years, and they're trying to fix it up. But I don't know any normal person that want to move in there. Honestly, it seems strange, but it's probably haunted. I'd like to investigate it.
Right, I know that would be cool. Maybe it was a paranormal person that bought it.
Yeah, not live there though.
Yeah, if I remember right, it was just like a really normal, boring looking like track house type thing in a very residential area.
Yeah.
Like
the neighbors didn't, I don't know how they didn't suspect anything, but no one really paid attention to them. But you know, there's a lot of those houses, I think, I mean, they're all over the United States that have had a lot of tragedy to them. And that seems like it's ramps up the energy for some reason. And then there's other places that haven't had tragedy, and all hauntings aren't bad. There are some bad ones, but relatively the ones we've ever investigated, I don't know about you guys, but they've been pretty good, not negative. Bruce Mansion seemed negative for some reason. Eloise seemed negative, the 6th Precinct, but there's a lot that are just loved ones trying to connect with their loved ones that are still here to let them know they're okay. I think a lot of the times too.
Yeah.
And Chelsea works with that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, that's something I specialize in with my corporation. I do a lot of healing modalities of those who are mentally, emotionally struggling with those that are deceased. And then a lot of times we don't realize, again, you are your own conduit, that you can transpire things and you can make your own self sick. So I do a lot of work with that too with my corporation of how to heal yourself through your placebo and holistic practices. So it's definitely what I do.
What do you take any like protection with you, Bridget? Crystals or anything like that, or wear any crosses or anything like when you go on investigations?
I do not.
Really?
Really, because I believe it's in my mind, not the hauntings and stuff, but all of that stuff that I just have a rule that. Did you hear that boop?
I did.
What was that? I heard that too.
It sounds bad. I'm not used to these comments. Would the comments be making noises on the side of the screen?
No, they're quiet.
Okay.
And I have my computer and all of my stuff on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, me too.
Well, anyway, what was I just saying? I forgot already.
You were talking about protection.
Oh, about protection when you go on investigation.
Protection. Oh yeah. No, because it's in my head. Like when I go in there, I'm here just for the experience. I'm here to, if you want to communicate or whatever. But when I leave, we're done here, and you can't follow me home. It's more just like my own fence around me. It's in my own head. And like somebody else told me too, they're afraid. I think it was Amy Bruni was talking about it. She doesn't have anything either because she's afraid that like that one time you forgot your crystal or that one time you didn't wear your cross or whatever. Now all of a sudden you feel vulnerable, and then that's going to mess with your head and stuff. She doesn't want to ever be in a position where she doesn't have her little token that she needs to keep her safe, And I agree with that too. I'm just like, no, it's more up here than it is something that I'm carrying with me.
I would say it's mind over matter.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that exact same thing. Great minds think alike.
But I'm a guy and I wear crystals and charms and everything else. So
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that everybody's just, different and stuff, what makes them feel comfortable.
Well, you definitely have a guardian angel around you too. Because it's like when I look at you, you have so much white and light pink and gold in your aura. And those are all such pure colors. You resonate with unconditional love. And I think that keeps away a lot of the bad stuff. When you're tapped into such a high vibration, it just keeps you so light that things can't really attach to you.
Oh, that's good to know. See, it's stuff like that. Then I put that in my mental bank, and I'm just like, you can't. Almost said that. I said a bad word. You can't mess with me.
You said that word. And for a second there, Jen, I thought you were talking about me. Thanks.
You've got a lot of blue and purple in your aura.
I don't know what I have right now. No, but I think it is in your mind. I mean, you have to think that you're stronger than any energy, at least hopefully. I've never ran into anything that strong, but it's just, I think it's, for me, like a crutch, I guess, sometimes. But I always have it with me. It makes me feel better. I guess it's not really necessary.
If it makes you feel better, you should bring them. You should then.
Yeah, I just feel better. I get chicken sometimes. I'm not afraid to admit that. So
I can't bring enough protection. I wear tons of crystals and all these things, and I feel like I still need like a million other things with me each time I leave.
Oh, that's funny. Patty does give us a protection oil before we do the seances.
Yes.
And she has us put it like on our third eye, but she also has us put it in the back of our neck. She said is the most powerful place to put it. And then on our wrists a little bit, rub it in. It smells really good, whatever it is.
That's smart. It is.
it is. What we got a few minutes, Bridget. What has been your craziest experience doing this that just really kind of shook you?
It's the Myrtles plantation.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, I had wanted to go there for so long, and I had researched so much about it, and I really thought, like, I know what the doorknobs are made out of there. Like, I've read so much and watched so much about it, and when we got there, it was nothing like I thought it was going to be, which was really messing with my head, because it just, from the moment we pulled up, I was like, wait, this can't be it. This is it? And Nick's like, this is, yeah, there's a sign, Myrtles Plantation. We're pulling in. I'm like, but it's so close to the road. Like, I thought it was so much further out, and it's not that far from the main like highway thing. And there's a gas station across the street. And I was like, what? And then when we pulled in, it just wasn't like vibing with the way I had everything I had read and seen and everything. And then we checked in and we got to our room, and then later that night we were doing our little ghost hunt, and nothing was happening. I mean, nothing. I thought like everything. Did I even remember to turn this stuff on? Like, I was double checking, taking the batteries out, putting it back in, because just absolutely nothing. And we finally went to bed, and then we were awakened, and it was 3 a.m. because I had Nick look at the cell phone, see what time it was, and things were just going crazy. Something was running up the stairs, and we heard kids laughing and playing. We heard squeaking on the floorboards, and I know exactly where that was coming from because we had just done the investigation for like an hour and a half and got nothing. But I know what floorboards creak, and I know like where things are. And this electronic noise went off in our room, and we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. The K2 meter was just sitting on the nightstand, and it was lighting all the way up to red, and then going blank, and then up to red, and just like flipping out. And Nick thought that was making noise, and I told him that's not making the noise. That doesn't even make noise. Like, it was just like it was crazy, and it went on for a little over an hour. And then all of a sudden I just felt this like, oh, and the room was so heavy. I mean, every muscle in my body was tight and tense, and we were just like holding on to each other, going, "Did you hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah." "Did you hear that?" "Yeah." And we're just like, "Oh my God." And then all of a sudden I just felt everything loosen up, and it was over. It's over.
Gone.
And I was like,
Gone just like that. That's crazy.
I'm like, oh, it's over. Do you feel that? He's like, how do you know? And I'm like, don't you feel it? I feel it. It's just gone. Like, everything just loosened up. Wow. I was too scared to go to the bathroom by myself, though. I was like, you have to go to the bathroom? He's like, are you serious?
Covered over your head like a little kid. Yeah.
Oh, seriously. And then they do biscuits and gravy in the gift shop in the morning. I wasn't going to miss that, even though we were up half the night. And we went down there, and these 2 older couples were sitting at a table, and they're like, was it you making all that noise last night, moving furniture around and stuff? Because we heard furniture moving around too, and we were like, it wasn't us. And then these 2 guys that were working there, they were like, what room were you in? And when we told them, they were like, oh, you guys made it through the whole night. The last 2 people to stay in there didn't make it through the whole night. And I'm like, oh, we need a t-shirt that says I survived the turtles.
That'd be perfect. Yeah, they should do that.
I would wear that. I would have bought that if that was there, but
so you have kind of a milestone coming up for your podcast, your 100th episode.
Tomorrow
it is.
Yeah, tonight it goes up. 100 episodes.
That's amazing. That's a big commitment. That's great that you've done that.
Yeah, and it's been so much fun. So here's to 100 more.
Yes, definitely.
Congratulations. It's so
Thank
exciting.
you. Yeah, we're
Who's going to be on your
excited.
100th episode? Who's going to be on that 100th episode?
It's a montage of all kinds of people. You're on there. Everybody. Rob reached out to just tons of people who have been on the podcast before. If they have a new ghost story or just want to say congratulations or just whatever message they have. And so it's just like a montage of, I don't know, there's probably 20, 30 people on it, just giving little short stories or just saying hi or whatever.
That's cool. It comes out tonight?
Yeah, at well, for you guys on your time, 9:00, but it's midnight here.
Okay, cool. What where can people find you at, Bridget?
I am at Bridget Marquardt on Instagram, at Bridget on Twitter, and at Bridget Marquardt on Facebook. Look for the blue check marks because I do have some fake accounts out there. I don't have them. There are some fake accounts out there.
I texted you that one time. I said, "There's someone that says they're you." That they messaged me on Twitter. I think I'm like, "What is this?"
I know. Oh, my brother-in-law. Well, okay, Nick and I aren't technically married yet, but we've been together so long that my brother-in-law he said that he keeps getting these messages from these fake Bridgets, like that are trying to follow him and stuff, and he doesn't have like a ton of followers or anything. So I'm like, will you just report them for me?
Yeah, I reported it too, but it's they try to almost copy exactly what your real page is. It's just weird.
Yeah, they steal all my photos, everything. That's why you have to look for that blue check mark. I call it, I say on my podcast, make sure it's the one with the blue check mark because there's lots of fake, or shall I say, ghost accounts out there.
And you have the Ghost Magnet Facebook page.
There's Ghost Magnet Podcast on Instagram and also on Facebook.
Well, I personally want to thank you for doing this with us. I had fun actually.
It's so fun, right?
It is.
What better thing can you do for an hour but talk about ghosts and paranormal stuff?
I know. It's what we do. You know, it's fun. But well, I want to try and hook up. I don't know what's going to happen this year. Hopefully we can figure something out to do some ghost hunting somehow, but we'll see.
I know, right?
We'll see. But thanks everyone for tuning in for our very first episode of 2021. Hope everyone enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. And thanks again, Bridget, for coming on with us.
Yeah, and if you guys review the tape, tell me what you hear it say earlier.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to it over because we got that beep and we got that voice.
Yeah, we had the voice in the beginning and then that whatever sound that was. And I thought, like I said, I thought it was the comments that I can see. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, I don't know.
And other people have commented too that they've heard it too. So other people heard it besides us. So we will see.
That's exciting. Stuff happens. Stuff happens when you're recording.
It does. It does.
All right. Thank you guys. That was so fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.